So, long story short, Ray, you were over at the AFL. You came back for a little while, went to Boston, and now you're back in Ireland again. Where are you at in a general sense in life?
Fairly deep question to start off with. Where's your life going? So as you said, just got back, made the decision to come home from Australia, decided to go to Boston, just enjoy my summer kind of before I got back into college. And now I'm back doing arts in UCD. So just kind of, just getting settled back in, really back hanging around with my mates again, like playing a bit of ball, trying to kind of get the rust off. But really enjoying it now, really enjoying being back.
So, how different was your life as a professional player to I presume you're going back with Westmeath.
Yeah.
Whether you're back yet, I don't know, but I presume you are. So, how different was that life compared with, getting back into this?
Yeah, it's definitely a very privileged kind of look at sport, like, because you're over there and like it's your job to turn up for training, and like you're obviously getting paid to do it. Whereas over here, like I'd almost kind of forgotten like how much of a commitment it is. Like you're in college or work or whatever every day, and then you have to try and fit in your gym and your training outside of that, and then there's the commute. Like for me, it's not too bad. Like it's Dublin to Athlone or Mullingar, so it's not massive, but yeah, it certainly it is certainly very different. I would say it's probably a lot harder here to keep yourself motivated and keep yourself driven. Whereas over there, like, because you're surrounded by professionals and it's just what you have to do every day, it's an awful lot easier to keep yourself kind of just on that path to kind of where you want to be.
All told, how long were you in Australia?
First contract was 2 years, and then I went back out, and I was about just over 6 months, I think, with Essendon the second time. So, pardon?
The Bombers.
The Bombers, yeah. That's it.
So, it's St Kilda the first time, yeah?
Yeah, St Kilda the first time, yeah.
So, what was the situation there? So, you were obviously playing for Westmeath, going well, you got called out there, and how did that go?
Started off brilliantly. First year really positive. I arrived out just after breaking my leg, and kind of just was eased into the pre-season a little bit. And then I kind of started to they played me as a half forward, and kind of found a little niche there where I was actually playing well, kicking goals, and like causing defenders problems, and everything was going really well. And there was conversations towards the end of the year about getting called into the first team for games towards the end. Kind of just ran out of games then, but like all in all, really positive. Second year then had a monster pre-season, did really well, was loving it. Then kind of dipped in form maybe about halfway through the year, which probably was what kind of cost me my contract. I'd say I just had 5 games there where I wasn't up to par. But then picked it up again, but I think it was just a little bit too little too late. So unfortunately there wasn't the offer of another contract, which was a shame. But I still no real regrets surrounding any of it, to be honest.
That 5 or 6 games you're talking about, is that something to do with fitness? Was it just a form thing? Could you put your finger on it?
It was just a form thing. I suppose it's kind of hard to put your finger on something exactly. I think I was focusing too much on things that I couldn't control. I was worrying about, am I going to get picked for the first team? Is this going to happen for me? Is that going to happen for me? When what made me so good the first year and the pre-season was just going out and playing, like not worrying, not being too focused on external things. And I really think that's kind of what let me down. And I suppose that's all part of learning about being a professional athlete. You learn how to kind of focus your mind onto what works for you. And I suppose it was one thing I was a little bit disappointed at when they let me go. I was kind of thinking, I was like, look, you're bringing a guy from the other side of the world who's never had this kind of experience before. He's learning a new sport, like learning like how to live on the opposite side of the planet, and also then having to learn how to be a professional athlete and what goes with it, and how to kind of I suppose maximise your own ability. But look, it's a professional sport, it's cutthroat. If they don't think you're going to make it, they have to make a decision there and then. And look, rightly or wrongly, that was a decision made. So yeah, I'm kind of happy where I'm at now in my life. So I don't think it's going to adversely affect me too much. Like,
were you able to just settle in as just away from the sport? Were you able to settle in Australia?
Yeah. I think kind of through the sport, like I met all kind of the Irish guys. So like I didn't know. All I knew was Dara Joyce, who I signed with at St Kilda. he was the only one I actually knew going over. And then met Kieran Byrne, Conor McKenna, Conor Glass, Conor Nash, a few Connors, and then Mark O'Connor and all these. Met all these boys over there, and then all of a sudden, like, I mean, McKenna was at my brother's wedding in September. Like, I mean, they become your best mates. Like, I was living with Conor Nash and Conor Glass. So I mean, you do settle in. You find like your clique, and then like you're kind of just as happy over there living there as you would be if you're back home, kind of like. So it makes it easier.
Would you have still had that graw for playing Gaelic football while you were over there, missing it? And in Dara Joyce's case, hurling as well.
Yeah, it's like nothing really compares. It's the sport you grow up playing. Like, it's like every evening as a young fella you're kicking ball. Like, you can't really. It would take an awful lot to get that out of the blood. Like, so no, you definitely do miss it. And sure, you see that with lads. Like, I mean, you're over there earning good money, and you still come home in the off season and you want to play Gaelic football. Like,
were you tempted ever to come back? Is that Loan your club?
At Loan, yeah. I played. I think it was in the break between my first and second year. I think I played. Or was it before I went out? Sorry, it was actually before I went out. So I definitely shouldn't have been playing, because I just broke my leg and I was kind of just rehabbing that back. And I played a quarter final for the club, and then told St Kilda that, and there was a strong word to say don't play the semi-final. So unfortunately we lost the semis, so it was a bit disappointing. But like, even she saw Conor McKenna came home and with English there, and he played. Like, so you do see a lot of the boys, but I do think the Australians now are starting to kind of cut it out. They're like, look, you're here, you've signed, which is obviously, look, fair enough. Like, they're your employer. Like, they do kind of get the last word. So
do you enjoy the day-to-day of showing up, doing the same, well, maybe not the same training, but training at that level of intensity every day, going through, I presume, what is a fairly similar routine? Yeah,
it certainly in season can be quite monotonous, in the sense that you play your game on a Saturday, you have your Sunday off for recovery, come in on the Monday, you do recovery and a review, and like the week just follows the same kind of protocol day to day. Now the clubs are great at kind of introducing something to I suppose keep you engaged and keep excited. So you might have a change of venue, or you might just bring in someone, or do something a little bit different. Pre-season then is completely different, because you're getting dogged kind of like every day. Like, they're big sessions, they're different sessions. You could be boxing or doing judo, or you could be swimming out in the field. So they mix it up, and then they bring you in pre-season camps. So like, it's certainly not as kind of like day to day as I come in, I train at that. You've got meetings, you've got reviews, you've got meetings with psychologists, you've got like all different aspects that kind of come into it that I suppose someone from the outside who's never been involved wouldn't even know exist. But then when you're in there, there's definitely plenty to keep you busy, and it doesn't actually really get too boring, which is great.
What's the toughest sort of training thing you've ever done? I remember talking to Daniel Flynn before, and he said going out to the Middle East and you were doing like 10 by 100 metre sprints a number of times, that sort of stuff. Yeah. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, we used to do it's called belay running, and it was on a Wednesday, and like, you used to actually, so you'd come in the morning, you'd have your breakfast at the club, and you'd sit down, you have your meeting, and you'd be going through kind of like what we're going to focus on in this session, like if it's defensive or tactical or whatever it could be. And then the conditioning slide comes up, and like on a Wednesday, like, they'd have the distances and whatever, and you're looking at it and you're like, you're joking me. So you'd be doing like just timed 400s. Then you go into, you might do like 100 meters up and down with like 15 seconds off or 10 seconds off, into a tackling drill, which is just wrestling, and then you're up out of that and you're back into a 400, little bit of a break. And like, I remember there was a couple of sessions, so they kind of wait until everyone, for the really big ones, so like just before you break for Christmas, they flog you, just like, this is your last session before Christmas break, like, we're going to kill you here. I remember everyone had to take over 15k, which is okay for like, you've got some guys who are running in, by the time you've got lads there, you've got boys there who are about 6'7", like, and obviously they're not going to be running 15k at the same pace the rest of us will. So we'd have all ticked over 15k, and we're still going, waiting for one of the big boys to finish, and you're like, lads, this has to stop. And then 20 minutes later, you're still going. It's 36, 37 degrees, and you're like, this is actually the worst experience of my life. Like,
oh my God. It just makes me wonder, how far on in terms of athletes are these boys compared with GAA lads?
They are. It's probably not really comparable, because like, GAA lads are as fit as they can possibly be without being full time. Like, I've actually looked at GPS results, and if you look at meters per minute in a GAA game and an AFL game, GAA is actually just as high. It's a far more constant running. So that's one thing I noticed. I used to come home, and if I played a game, I'd be blowing, because AFL has a lot more stop-start, but the actual run efforts are so much more intense. So it's really high speed, running for a lot longer, whereas GAA is a lot more constant. If you think of your wing back, wing forward, midfield role, up and down, up and down, up and down. Whereas AFL, like, you've got stoppages where then all of a sudden you might have a 5-minute burst where you're sprinting and covering huge long sprint distances. So they're kind of different in that sense, but at the same time, it's just hard to compare, because like, it's a full-time sport against an amateur sport. And yeah, I think GAA literally is at a level where it can't, like, players can't get any fitter unless it was full-time.
So when you went away from St Kilda, I presume you were disappointed at that point by the way you're talking. How did the Essendon thing come about?
Yeah, the Essendon, it kind of just came. It's kind of through Conor McKenna, the head coach of the VFL side. So I went back over playing semi-pro. So the head coach of the VFL side, his name's Dan Jordan. He just spoke to Conor one day. He sent him a message, actually, that was it. He said, are you mates with Connellan? Like, would you have any interest in coming back out for the VFL and see if you can get a contract? And at the time, me and McKenna were sitting in a pub together, and we were both back home, and he just sent him back a selfie of the two of us, and he's like, hey, I'm friendly enough for him, all right, yeah. So we ended up just kind of touching base with each other then, and he said he felt that I've been played in the wrong position at St Kilda. He said, there's an opportunity here for you if you want to come and try it. So yeah, that was just how that came about, and then it was just a matter of really sorting out a few little visa stuff and bits like that, and then over I went.
And so you were there 6-7 months. What did and didn't work?
Everything was actually going great. I was really enjoying, like, I was working kind of 2 days a week on the side in a like cafe right beside my house.
Right.
Yeah, which was grand. Didn't really mind that. And then training 3 or 4 nights a week with the VFL side. Got called in and trained a couple of times with the first team as well, like, just to kind of be exposed to that again. And yeah, it was going really well. I played 4 or 5 games, and form was slowly getting better and better and better, and then played probably the best game I'd ever played in the whole time I was in Australia, playing as a half-back. I had a stormer, and conversations started to happen then about getting picked up by someone in the mid-season draft. Yeah. And about 6 weeks out from the draft, I tore my hamstring in training, and like, I remember I felt it go. I was doing sprints, felt it go, and I was like, might be okay. And I went to kick a ball. I was like, no, this is dust here. Like, I'm actually in a bit of bother. So that put me out for the 6 weeks leading into the draft. So I missed 5 of the most important games of my time in Australia, which took the wind out of my sails completely. Like, it was very hard to bounce back after that. But I decided, I was like, look, try and be positive, stick it out, see how you go. But it became very, very evident, like, very quickly, that I was starting to see home and get home again. So took a bit of time, made the decision, and since I've been home, delighted I did. Yeah. Like, settled in straight away, and just so happy now to actually be back here and settled in.
If it's not too tough a question, like, is there sort of regrets, or is it just it was taken out of your hands by injury?
There's no regrets with Essendon. That the decision to come home was, I definitely made that at the right time. It was the right thing for me. Regrets in St Kilda, as I say, I probably focused too much on things that just weren't in my control, like, just worried too much about things like that. If I had my time again, and if I could go back and speak to myself, I would just be like, look, you know what makes you a great player, just do that. Stop worrying about if you get picked. That'll come itself. And I think that's kind of what I kind of stood my own way a little bit. And there's probably a few technical sides of the game that I didn't nail. I was playing as a small forward, which requires massive amounts of tackles and pressure in a game, and I wasn't nailing that role, which is why I wasn't getting picked. And then when I went to Essendon, they were like, look, mate, you're a half-back, and that's when my form kind of got very good again. So I was really like, when I went to half-back with Essendon, I was like, oh, here we go, like, I'm actually going to get back into this. But look, everything kind of happens for a reason, I suppose, and you know, if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be. But no real regrets. A few learnings I've taken from it, but certainly no regrets. It was the best thing I've ever done.
So now back in with Westmeath soon enough. Are you excited by that prospect?
Yeah, definitely. Look, it's been a long time. Like the Leinster final in 2016 was the last time I played. Didn't end great, broke my leg and lost to Dublin, so it wasn't the best day out. Like, but definitely, like the boys have done so well. We've gotten the county back into place now. We're in Division 2, like playing, like could be like arguably underdogs every week, where you're going out playing very good sides. Like, and that's the standard of football you want to be playing. Like, you know, it's where you want your county to be, and like there's definitely a hunger growing for me again. Like, if you'd asked me 6 months ago, I'd be like, nah, I don't want to go back and play. But just from being around the GAA again and back playing colleges football, like you're chewing at the bit to get out and play again. So I want to focus on Sigerson now. That's kind of where my head's at. I'm really enjoying that. I've been speaking with Jack Cooney quite a bit, and then it's hopefully hammer and tongs at Westmeath then after.
And of course, if you need to get part-time work, if experience working in a cafe, so
that's it, exactly. So if there's anyone looking for a bit of work over Christmas,
thanks very much, Ryan.
No worries, cheers.